the thing about these riots is that it really comes as no surprise to any of us living here, at least any of us who have been paying attention while living here, that this has boiled over in the manner that it has. In fact, I think we should be almost kind of blessed that it's been as contained as it has been. And that's in great, we owe Donald Trump a great deal of thanks for that. California has been on I would say, a path to suicide, civilizational suicide, for at least a decade, arguably longer. And we have arrived at a point where in California, immigration law is white supremacy and borders are violence. And indeed, the people of California and the people of Los Angeles are actually hostages of this one-party regime. And I consider the action by ICE to be welcomed as liberators. It's a rescue operation. But I think it's also a crystallizing moment to expose not just underlying problems in California or Los Angeles, but really what the future of America could look like if for instance, the Biden lawlessness at the border had continued. I think that is the fate that we would have all been suffering for. Well,
and by the way, as you're writing this, we have some breaking news that's going on right now, and I'm going to do a little production on the fly if you can get this. I'm seeing that one of these senators, Alex Padilla, Democrat senator of California, seems that he crashed Secretary Noem's press conference in Los Angeles, had to be forcibly removed. People are saying that it looks like he may have even assaulted some of the federal agents as he was trying to make his way towards the secretary, and obviously they were her protective detail. He was handcuffed. I'm seeing in some of these idiot videos, he was detained. I don't know if he's been fully arrested, et cetera, but this is a huge, not just an endorsing of political violence, but actually a use. Guys, do we have this video? Can we play this video really quick?
Wow.
Okay, so you're seeing it there, and I'm seeing some of this the first time. So Secretary Noem is, and for folks listening on the radio, this is breaking. This just happened within the last 10 minutes. Just seeing it on Twitter, X, where Secretary Noem was giving a press conference in the Los Angeles area about what's going on. And here you have a Democrat leader who is using political violence against our federal officials, and he is brought out. Chris, and you write about this in your book, Failed State, how we've gotten to this place where how can you have elected officials acting in such a manner?
Well, I think that, that's an amazing image. I think, though, the visceral response from people like the senator and others, as we've been seeing over the last few days, this extreme response is not only indicative of a state that has been in a kind of de facto, I would say, rebellion against the United States, and executing that rebellion through lawfare and simply rejecting U.S. federal laws with respect to immigration. This is because the Democratic Party in California has been able to achieve its political hegemony and create the one-party state in which 75% of the state legislature is held by a single party. And we haven't had a Republican statewide official elected since Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was, I think, 2006. This has all happened because sometime in the 90s, really, in response to Pete Wilson and some ballot initiatives that tried to rein in on welfare benefits for illegal aliens, there was a kind of counteract to that that put in place policies like sanctuary state policies and others that have resulted in California having the highest percentage of foreign-born people in the United States. It's in California. It's 27%. There are at least 2 million illegal aliens in the state, too. And as the foreign-born population has risen since the 90s, California has also, in parallel, become a concentrated political economy. So in other words, the power that Sacramento has consolidated is very significantly tied to demographic engineering.
Folks, we're showing new footage here as well. Chris Moritz is our guest. He's the author of Failed State, all about California, the twilight of empire, and talking about how California has descended into chaos. And it's the same chaos that we've seen play out across the streets. But here you have another example of this chaos where a Democrat senator has rushed Secretary Kristi Noem. I don't have much more information on this. We're working to get more information. She appears to be safe, but he was arrested. He was, or at least detained. He was certainly handcuffed, and we see that video. And this is theater, by the way. This is classic political theater. He'll use this the same way Gavin Newsom. I was surprised it wasn't Gavin Newsom, by the way, trying to rush this, because we know he's been daring the administration to arrest him, saying, "Tom Homan, come arrest me, tough guy." These are theater kids. These are theater kids who are playing emotional drama, and he'll use this to raise funds, I'm sure, and all the rest of it. And meanwhile, the actual Angelenos, and as you say, the Californians who are living under this occupation force, don't ever have anyone that's coming to help them out, until now, at least, because you've got these ridiculous theater kids and morons like this individual who are actually in elected office in California.
Yeah, that's so well put, Jack. Look, the reality for ordinary people in the state of California is that in the 1990s, crime was very violent, especially in Los Angeles, just historically violent. But it was concentrated in certain small areas, neighborhoods, right, in South LA and whatnot. Today, it may not be quite as violent, but the violence is directed outwards to all of us all the time. And this is what was informed to me by multiple law enforcement sources for my book, and it certainly has played out in my own life. So the reason I wrote this book was because in 2023, on one weekend, my family home was home invaded style burglarized, meaning I was in the house at the time but didn't encounter the burglar. But nevertheless, 2 nights in a row, while I'm sleeping, by an MS-13 gangster, illegal alien from El Salvador, 7 years in state prison for gun crimes. And when he got out in 2017, President Trump's administration at that time had him immediately deported to El Salvador. Well, during the Biden invasion, he came back into the country, back to LA, and went on a crime spree, committing dozens of these types of hot prowl burglaries or home invasion style burglaries all over Southern California. And in Los Angeles County, he was never even brought up on charges. Where I live in Santa Monica, the detective assigned to the case never even called me to interview me. So it wasn't until he started committing these crimes up to the north in Ventura County that he was actually apprehended. And when he was arrested at a stoplight, he had on his person a stolen loaded gun, body armor, knives, much of the stolen property, and other paraphernalia. When he was brought into interrogation, the lead detective on the case came up to him and said, "Look, we know you had a gun on you. Thanks for not opening fire on us." And he said, "Well, don't thank me, because if my wife and kid had not been in the back seat of the vehicle at the time, I was planning on opening fire and murdering you, because I'm never going back to jail." Well, this guy got sentenced to only 2 years, probably will serve less, in state prison, and a $300 fine. And as I learned about all of this, I was just so beyond shocked